our Food and Climate Shapers Bootcamp that our Future Food Institute, together with FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, are organizing together with the support of some amazing supporters and partners like the Google Food team, Barilla, Food for Soul, and many others that really are joining this journey, this mission, and sharing the same values and purpose. So today I'm very excited because one of the key pillars of our learning journey is actually thinking about the role of kitchen, the role of the chefs as a key player really to start this change that is needed. We see the role of food as the epicenter really of the society, is part of all our relationship as a community, but is also the first way in which really each one. I'm a mom, so when I have to choose what to cook, I can take a decision, but also everyone, multiple times a day, can take a decision and do the right choice. And this choice can create an impact on the broader ecosystem. So I'm going to leave the stage to Giulia, but before that, I want to really thank our guest today. So we have with us Lorenzo Boni, that is from Barilla. He is the executive chef of Barilla North America. And then we have Iulia Nonu, that is the head chef of Refettorio, that is the amazing project promoted and supported by Food for Soul. And so today, really, we are going to talk about the key role of food, and we are going to talk also about the power of the Mediterranean diet, the values of Mediterranean diet. And this is going to be for us like a kind of a teaser for a major project that we are going to host together in Pollica in September. So we're going to host a boot camp in presence. Let's cross our finger because we need also to reconnect. That's going to be focused on connecting our roots, our cultures, the Greek philosophers, the biodiversity, together with the Mediterranean lifestyle and the Mediterranean diet. So Giulia, I leave the stage to you, and I think we can start, and I look forward to enjoy this incredible conversation.
Thank you, Sara. So as Sara already mentioned, we have two of our partners here today. And for those who doesn't know, the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition was founded in 2009 with the aim of analyzing the major issues related to food and nutrition in the world. And 1 year later, they came up with a model called the double pyramid, what Lorenzo will also talk a bit more about. Analyze the model aimed to sensitizing consumers on the impact that their food choices have on the environment. And Food for Soul is the non-profit organization that was founded by Massimo Bottura and Lara Gilmore, promote social awareness about food wastage and hunger, and to shine light on the invisible potential of people, places, and food as well. So today's session, we'll have 3 parts. In the first part, Iulia and Lorenzo will introduce you to this model and talk about their work, and what is their impact on the environment through food. And afterwards, we will open the round for your questions, of course. And then we will close this conversation with the trivia. So please pay attention what you will hear now, because that might help you later. And for now, I would hand over to Iulia and Lorenzo. Thank you.
Iulia, you want to go ahead?
Hi, shall I start?
Yes, please. No, I think you could introduce yourself and tell a bit about what you do.
Okay, so my name is Giulia. I'm let's call it the head chef of the format of the Refettorio Felix we're running at the moment. The whole the whole premise is of us serving food throughout the lockdown as much as we could. It's changed quite a lot the system that we used to. Part of the whole process, of the whole thinking behind Food for Soul is that food is about community and trying to link in with the idea of not just having a meal, but also sharing a meal with other people, and creating a sort of understanding and community of food and people around you. That changed slightly during lockdown. We were one of the only centers in this area in London that we continued to serve food, which meant that we also sort of took under our umbrella a few other charities, and we tried to serve as much as we could. We were the center that received a lot of donations, and based on that, we managed to sort of keep going until pretty much this point. Yes, I'm in charge with organizing pretty much what has to do with cooking in terms of the produce that we receive, the menu, planning the days as they go by, and trying to maintain that standard. Unfortunately, all the food is packed. So yeah, we prepare all the food, that we pack it, and it's delivered to various charities, or indeed we serve it to what we call our customers, which are the homeless in the area. This is what we're doing at the moment. And yeah, this has been going on for a few months. That's me.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. My name is Lorenzo Boni, and I'm the executive chef of Barilla North America. I was born and raised in Bologna, Italy, and I moved to the States in 2004. And I worked briefly for Barilla Italy before moving to the States. Before that, my background is really, chef. I went to culinary school, and then I traveled all over the world, and Italy especially, to learn all the different, traditional regional cuisines and so on. Then I opened my own restaurant in Bologna. I had it for 10 years. And I was consulting at the time with Barilla Italy in recipe development in the R&D center. And then at one point they offered me a food job. So I sold the restaurant, joined Barilla Italy for a brief amount of time. And then they offered me the job here in the US. And so I came, and oftentimes people wonder, what is a chef doing for a pasta company that sells dry pasta in the store, or a sauce already made? Well, as you can see in the background here, we have a beautiful test kitchen. Technically we work for the R&D center, so we develop recipes for the company. Any recipe that you see in the back of the box, on the website, any commercial that we run on TV, the recipes start with us, and then we work hands to hands with the food scientists and so on. And then we also organize and execute a huge amount of events around the year. Unfortunately, now it's kind of a different time, but generally speaking, regularly we do like over 160 events every year. So there's a lot of coordination, a lot of chefs involved, a lot of people, that work all throughout the country. It's a big region. And actually, by the way, I've even done, so we do events for 2 people, maybe some major customers or whatever, or 70, 80,000 people. And I was going to say that actually I've done an event with Massimo Bottura in Central Park in New York, the biggest event ever. We've had 70,000 people, the Bocelli concert in Central Park. And we had a gala dinner where Massimo was the chef, the head chef, obviously. Anyway, this is more or less me. In the recent past, I also developed a little bit of skills in food photography. So we also do a lot of photography in-house over here. But I guess today we're talking about, we start with the double pyramid, right? So should I start talking about that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I will also share my screen so you can have the visual in front of you.
Okay, yeah. So if you could share the screen and have the visual of the double pyramid, I think if you look at it at a glance, it's going to be a little more intuitive, a little bit better. So Iulia already explained you what the BCFN is, the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition. It's an independent think tank that analyzes factors about food and so on. And it was founded in 2009. I believe in 2011, they launched the first double pyramid. And to me, honestly, I was already working for Barilla USA. When I first saw it, I was speechless, shocked, because I really, it's so smart and so true. being Italian and being born in Bologna and raised in Italy, to me, the Mediterranean diet, I don't even call it the Mediterranean diet. It's my food. It's how I ate. It's just it's food. It's how you are raised to eat in Italy. And so you look at the pyramid on your left, and you see that the very base is fruit and vegetables, and then you have a combination of carbohydrates with grains, breads, pasta, a little bit of rice, and then you have legumes. And as you go up, the pyramid is narrowing, and so you need less and less of those ingredients, and so you see oil, nuts, and then dairy, seafood, and as you go up, you end up with red meat and sweets that obviously are simple carbs, and you don't want to indulge with. So, in my opinion, the Mediterranean diet, as it shows here in this pyramid, it's a great way to. It's not even a diet; it's a lifestyle. In my opinion, it's very different. And if you eat like this, the beauty of Mediterranean diet is that really you don't exclude anything out of your diet. You have everything you want. It's just that certain things come in moderation. Obviously, a big factor is also portion control, because that's something that is true for any type of food. But it's not a diet that excludes anything from you. So if you love something in specific, you can have it. Just you need to kind of understand when and how, right?
Absolutely.
Well, okay. So is anybody trying to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. So then you take this beautiful pyramid here and you put it upside down, and you have the environmental pyramid, which is basically tells you what type of an impact this food that you are consuming on a daily basis has on the environment, right? And it's shocking to see that the food that is at the very base of the Mediterranean diet is actually the food that has the least impact on the earth, on our planet. So it's very safe to say that the food that is good for you is also good for the planet. The food that you see at the top of this pyramid, the wider part, is the food that has the highest impact on the planet, just because obviously if to grow grain, it takes a certain amount of energy. But to farm an animal, you're going to have to feed this animal with the same type of grains for many, many months, if not years. You're going to have to use a huge amount of water and so on. So you're going to have a much greater impact on your environment. So it's just at a glance, I think it's a beautiful tool to really understand what is good for you, again, but also good for the planet. And one thing that I think it needs to be added that you cannot put in a chart or in a pyramid is also a very important factor is the social aspect of the Mediterranean diet. We're not talking only about food as just protein. Sugars and carbs and fats and so on consumption. It's not only about the functional food that we're talking about when we're talking about pyramid, Mediterranean diet pyramid. We are talking about a lifestyle, and so the social aspect of this it's very important. And what Iulia was just talking about earlier about, the importance of sharing the table, the importance of consuming the experience with people and so on is priceless. It's just something that makes the difference, and it's something that in Italy we really prize and give a huge importance to. And of course, nowadays, it's a little more difficult to to find time for everything, but it's all about prioritizing. And myself too, and now I have a family, I have a daughter, she's a teenager, and she has tons of activities. I work long hours, I travel a lot. So sometimes it's hard to sit down, everybody at the table together. But when we do, it's always like the most meaningful time of our family. And if I think back about my childhood, the best memories of my life is like really around the table, sharing table with my family, with my dad, with my mom, talking and having great food. And so it's something that we really, I'm very blessed to work for a company, Barilla, that embraces and really try to implement these values to everyone.
I think for Refectorio Felix, and probably for all the refectorios within our group, I think this was our biggest challenge. Is the cooking was never a problem. Finding a packaging for transporting this food to other people has never been a problem. The social aspect has always and will always be an issue. I mean, most of the centers are not just for preparing food and serving it, but they're also some form of hubs. For instance, our center also offers showers, washing machine can have access to washing your clothes. There's a lot of other, let's call them, helps, different things that you can use in order for the people who come here, for the customers who come here. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that during the lockdown. And then we realized another amazing thing is, apart from there's two communities in any of these centers. Everybody will tell you there's two communities. There's the group of people that you serve, but also the group of people who serve, and who've been both affected tremendously by the lockdown. We've had a good bunch of volunteers who are both helping in the kitchen as well as we're helping to pack. And these are, again, two separate groups. And because of the restrictions, we had to kind of build bubbles. So for a few months in our center, we're supposed to only use a certain number of chefs. Because we were working together, we were safe in our bubble. As soon as one chef left, then we had to change the bubble, which meant that we need to get a new set of chefs. We need to retrain them to get them used to what the whole system is. And for everyone, it was an absolute mental breakdown when you first start in and you realize that you go through, first, you have restrictions, because like in any center, there's restrictions in terms of what your idea of the dish is. I mean, Lorenzo will tell you have an idea. This is how you traditionally have to cook this dish. And then you realize that you don't have probably 50% of the ingredients, but you have alternatives. You don't have spinach, but you have chard. You don't have chard, but you have bok choy. And then you have to kind of think outside the box. And in a way, for everyone, this was creativity. This was amazing. It kind of uses your brain. But at the same time, there were lots of challenges. And for us, this group after we've changed one bubble, the same thing happened with the group of volunteers from the front. And these little dots, the groups of volunteers have created an enormous unity between us. And to this point, we're probably using the same. Yeah, we probably changed only 2 or 3 volunteers from the front and 2 volunteers from the kitchen, but we're working with the same group. And we're trying to keep, it's all about protecting ourselves at the end of the day. And we're trying to keep it that way. But it is the social aspect. I mean, it was very difficult at the beginning as well when we first opened. Very difficult to explain to our customers they do not have access to all of the different facilities that we had. Then they cannot sit around. I mean, to actually tell them you just have to take your food and then go somewhere, considering that you couldn't say to them, go home, because there's no home. It was very difficult. It's still quite challenging. And I mean, in a way now it's a lot easier because again, even our customers outside, now they're in a bubble because they're pretty much the same, we're pretty much serving the same people. But it was interesting. For us, this element of social eating it's crucial. It's crucial.
Yeah. Giulia, did you want to say anything?
Yes, I wanted to ask both of you actually the question, how do you see your role in this concept? You as a chef, what is your impact and how can you contribute the best way to all this mission what you have been mentioning?
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, it's no doubt that this situation has created a big challenge to all of us. I mean, usually in bad times, people tend to congregate together and help each other and, support each other and be close. And this latest situation is actually asking us to be apart. And so difficult for everyone to manage, very difficult to, manage and deal with it for sure. For us as chefs, when this whole ordeal started, we have been doing a lot of activities online and trying to engage with people, trying to be close to our stakeholders, to our people that we normally relate to. We have organized a lot of teaching kitchens, for instance, from home, even from my home kitchen, just to keep people in the loop, keep people happy, keep people engaged. Unfortunately, like I was saying earlier, we normally on a yearly basis we do 160 events on the road. I'm typically around the country or even Mexico and Canada over 100 days a year, and all of that was taken away, overnight. And so everything turned out to be digital, just like today. We have been doing a lot of developing of recipes with the focus of being, compassionate about hard time, cost effective, also targeting families, because we want to bring back dinners and lunches with family. One thing positive about this lockdown, if you can look at anything positive about it, it was that really a lot of people was forced to spend more time home with their families and go back to the cooking basics. And so we have seen a surge of people baking breads at home, cooking pasta, making pastas from scratch, fresh. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't believe through my social media how many people reached out to ask for questions, for suggestions. And in many cases, I felt like they were reaching out more for just the interaction with me, and I loved that. I had all the time of doing the work while I was home, and I engaged with so many, and I think it was a very, very meaningful way of engaging, waiting for the time to go back around the table and share meals together.
I think Lorenzo made a very fair point. I think for myself, as well as probably a lot of the chefs around me that I worked with, we became. So I come from a restaurant trade, and since the lockdown, I kind of settled here in a way. But a lot of my colleagues and people that I work with and friends, we've all gone to this point where we realize we're now more available to our friends, our family, and probably to a lot of people who needed the support. Like Lorenzo mentioned, a lot of people reached out to him to ask him for information. That time and availability did not exist before. I mean, I didn't have the time probably to answer any of the questions from any of my friends, even if it was as simple as how long do you cook the pasta for, or something basic like that. If before it wasn't there, this lockdown has given us that opportunity, the opportunity to share some of the information that you had. And why not join in with the bread making madness and the pasta courses and all of that. So in a way, this is a positive thing. So from a chef's perspective, you had time to train, to try the completely different things, but then also to share some of that information. And there's some of the things that probably, especially if you're in a position in a job in a restaurant and you work according to a menu, you'll obviously always kind of do the same thing. There will be changes, there will be new vegetables that are introduced, but generally you are using the same techniques, using the same set of ingredients, and probably will be the same theory behind it. Because at the end of the day, if you're working in a pub, you will continue to just make fish and chips. You're not going to be able to start making bread in a pub because this is what the menu is. The moment that let's say, constraints of a place or of a style went away, then you're able to open up and you're able to discover and to learn more, but also to share more. So I think, yes, this was, from a chef's perspective, this was the availability of our information. We're more willing now to share whatever you know or you don't know. I think Lorenzo knows in the kitchen, everybody's very selfish when it comes to information. If you know something, generally you keep it to yourself and you just want to show off to your head chef or your executive chef. Look, I know how to do this. But now all of a sudden, you don't have to do that anymore. You can share it. So it's amazing.
Iulia, that brings me to the question about the intersection of food waste and recovery and food insecurity at Refettorio. How do you make sure that the nutrition what you provide to your customers is kind like balanced out, and you don't always know what ingredients you will cook with, and what does it mean for you when you have a new chef coming in and you need to train them? What are the biggest challenges?
I will give you an example. So today we had a takeover. So a kitchen from the whole team of chefs that normally work there, it was only myself, and then another chef, her name is Maria, and she runs a separate business, a catering business called Pomegranate Kitchen, and she took over the kitchen. So just to give you a snapshot, because probably this will give you a better, this is practical. This is what happened in the past, say, 48 hours. I had to find out what was the protein base. So what was she supposed to cook for today? I also had to figure out, so every Monday we receive a delivery from Project Felix, which is the organization that we work with, which gives us a certain amount of protein, and that's our basically what we need to use throughout the week. Most of the time, this protein is not enough for the week. So we have to kind of think outside the box and try to top it up. We always have a backup, but not all the time. So the protein that we received on Monday was supposed to keep us going for 5 days. As it turns out, our protein is not going to be enough until today. Today was the last bit of protein that we had. So for the next 2 days, we need to use other bits and bobs to kind of bulk it up to make it an element of protein. Using the same pyramid that Lorenzo was talking about. Thank you, Lorenzo, by the way. This is funny because we've used this pyramid without actually realizing that this is how we build up the meals. So the first element, we need to set up the protein, and we have a certain amount of the grams per person that we consider. And then after that, we need to find the carbohydrates, and then obviously the vegetables and fruit, because basically almost every day we receive a donation. It's pretty much in case of you walk in, you look around and you kind of build up the meal. It's as simple as that. So on Monday, I had to communicate with Maria and tell her what was the protein. And I gave her a rough idea of what sort of vegetables she's going to have. There'll always be a bulk of, let's call them the onions, the garlic and spices and herbs. This will always be there. But then there'll be the seasonal ones. And no matter how much you want to just use what you think, like, again, we were talking about a standard recipe. I know you want to make ratatouille, but I won't have the ingredients for ratatouille. I will have the ingredients. I probably have 2 out of those. So you'll either continue with that idea, but kind of swap it around, or you just leave the idea aside and do something completely different. So in these past few days, Maria found out what her protein was. Then yesterday, she knew what her carbohydrates was based on what other carbohydrates would use the previous day. So we don't repeat it. We cannot give them pasta every day. We basically said that. So we kind of alternate and try to make it interesting. And then this morning she walked in at 8 o'clock and she looked, we have this massive whole room, which is now basically used as a storage. And she looked around at about 15, 20 crates of various different vegetables. And then she said, okay, interesting. And then she made up the dish. It was as simple as that. The starter, I had the honor of doing the starter, was pretty much in the same way. But we have a principle. So we're basically working on, obviously, the element of protein, trying to make it as balanced as possible. Luckily, because we have such a good donation of vegetables, then we're able to bulk up we're using them to increase the portion size in order to make it interesting. But also we're working on a principle, which one of the vegetable or fruit or salad or whatever goes off first. So sort of like, you keep trying to eliminate. I think one of the worst ideas is trying to be into the reducing of waste and then in your own fault to actually create waste. So we're trying to eliminate this element of whatever is going on. And then pretty much by 11 o'clock, we finished preparing all the food. And then that's it, we served it. So that's generally how a day goes by. It is a lot of improvisation. Luckily, we have a good amount of vegetables, so we can always go with it. But the vegetables will always be probably the biggest, the most important part of our meal. And the starter will always be vegetarian. So we'll always do starter as vegetarian. The main course that will have about between 100 and 120 grams of meat, and the rest of it will be a carbohydrate and again, a garnish of vegetables, or it will be a salad or a more complex thing. And then the dessert, sorry, is just sugar and fat. We're trying. I think we're trying. Well, we cheated today because we gave them a granola bar, so it wasn't that. Yeah, anyway, it was in between. But we always try to give them treats. We try to element. So we're thinking in terms of this way. If we're going to have two light dishes that started and made, then we can give them a nice piece of cake. If not, we kind of swap things around. But it is basically I mean, when I was first talking to Jill about this, we were saying it's funny, but we've been using this pyramid without actually consciously thinking about it, that we are using it. But it's absolutely normal, because this is also what it comes through the food system, because we were talking about the food system. And this kind of donations, if you look at the type of donations that we receive, then you understand that sadly enough, this is the food that doesn't get used into the system. So if our largest donations are still vegetables and fruit, it means that this is not being used enough. That people are still using protein as their main part of their diet. And it again comes from probably education, or maybe, I don't know, is it easier to cook a piece of meat than to cook an aubergine? I don't know. You tell me. Looking at the
Actually, I'm more terrified of cooking meat than vegetables. Don't ask me why. But
I don't know. I find it strange. But looking at the donations we have right now, I mean, even if I take a photograph of what I have in the whole room right now, I have exactly the pyramid, which tells me that if this food comes back to us as being considered as waste food, then there's a problem. There's a problem.
If I can,
good for us, but
yeah.
Go
on, Lorenzo.
No, I just wanted to, share my experience in this about this topic. I obviously have very different challenges that Iulia has. I do as a chef, when I build menus, I always look at the food cost of everything. Although we are not in business. I mean, me as a culinary team, we are not here to make any profit with our events or anything, but we still it's very important to keep an eye on food cost and nutrition, all right? And oftentimes we run into situations where there is not really concerns about cost or getting ingredients of any kind. But unfortunately, we live in a world where some privileged categories of people are malnourished. They don't even have enough food to survive. And then there is a large amount of population that is obese and is actually eating not necessarily too much food, but the wrong food. And so when we build menus, when we cook for the crowd, we keep in mind always the love of the people that we have for the people that we are serving. And we always keep a very, very close eye on sustainability and also healthiness of the food. And once again, I look at the pyramid, at the Mediterranean pyramid, and there is how I base my menus. I give you an example. We recently, this past year and a half, 2 years, I think, we worked heavily with the cafeterias of Google, and they have unlimited resources that they can do anything they want, pretty much. But we ran like a concept called Pausa Cafe, which is basically pause, meaning the name itself tells people that go there that they should pause from their work and share the table and have a meaningful time. And the menu, the whole menu was built around the Mediterranean diet. So it wasn't built around protein. It was built about a lifestyle. and over time, we had a great feedback. People start feeling healthier, going back to work in the afternoon, feeling better. And we just had an amazing, feedback, so much so that they took the same type of concept and applied it to certain other areas of their cafeteria. The point is, once again, go back to the double pyramid, the Mediterranean diet. It's not only delicious, good for you, but also allows you to keep the food costs down, which as a professional, ultimately, no matter how you look at it, is very important. And, nowadays, proteins are available, animal proteins are available anywhere, oftentimes at low cost, just because they're like poorly farmed, these poor animals. But if you think back, like for instance, myself, I grew up as a kid in the 70s in Italy. You couldn't afford to eat meat every day. Our diet wasn't based on like a steak or a chicken breast every single night, just because no one beside just the 1% of the population could afford that. You would go to the butcher shop and really buy a little bit of that. But your diet was based on, once again, legumes, grain. If you think about the combination of legumes and grains that makes the perfect protein that can substitute basically the consumption of meat. Look at, for instance, all the Middle East eating hummus and pita bread. It's a combination of beans and grains, right? Look at Italy. We have so many dishes like pasta e fagioli, for instance, pasta and beans. Look at, but we have so many other of that kind. Look at Central America, black beans and rice. All this population couldn't really afford to eat meat 7, 8, 10 times a week. They were that was their base of food. And so when I develop recipes for the company, or menus or events or for whatever it is, I always keep that in mind, knowing that it's healthy, it's good for the people, and good for the planet.
Perfect. So now I would like to open the question round, and we actually have one from our YouTube channel, from the followers who are following the broadcast. From the Gastrotourism Academy. They ask about, what do you think about food culture for future ethnic diets, indigenous food patterns in the future? Because they refer to Indonesia, that there is not much food policy there, and it's very complicated. So what's your opinion about ethnic and indigenous diets in the future?
Iulia, do you want to go ahead, or should I start?
No, you start.
Okay, so we kind of had the same issue in Italy as well a while ago. If you think about the organization that started in Turin with slow food, right? It all started basically because when the European community came along and started putting all these rules and regulations about food, they started suddenly saying, oh, this food is not suitable for production, mass production or whatever. You have to dismiss this, you have to end this, you have to change this way of doing. Well, we looked at this food that oftentimes they were going to ban, and they were food that never poisoned anyone, never killed anyone, and they were made for hundreds and hundreds of years. So there was like a sort of let's call it revolution, trying to preserve our ethnic Italian food and just basically protect it from new ways of eating. So an organization like Slow Food did a great job at really highlighting the quality of our traditions and trying to promote it in a very positive way to make it understood and embraced by everyone. And so they were able to protect a lot of things that otherwise they would have disappeared.
Yeah, and I think that's what the UNESCO also acknowledged with the fact that they voted the Mediterranean diet as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity 10 years ago. So there are definitely ways how to protect these diets. So I would like to encourage now the students to ask their questions. If they don't have any, I can continue. This is always
shall I say something regarding from a chef perspective? Yes. We were discussing regarding to the question that was just put on. I think from our point of view, food and culture, it's an element of social inclusion. No matter how you look at it, probably the English culture is probably one of the best examples in terms of what it means to integrate not just the social group, but also the culture and the ethnic elements of it. Curry has been voted in UK for a number of years as #1 most pleasant, most liked food. And curry is now part of the UK, of the British identity, more than it is probably fish and chips. And it's important to see that because, again, it helps in terms of elements of creativity. It also broadens the horizons for all of us. If we don't accept, if we get to a point where we refuse this element of ethnic identity, of ethnic information, then we're pretty much limiting ourselves to a lot of other possibilities and to a lot of other techniques and a lot of other products or ingredients that we've never known before. I think the link in with slow food was a very valid point from Lorenzo. I was talking to Ali and to Jill about this a few days ago. We were saying that there's this whole arc of it's part of the slow food, and they developed this list of ingredients and products which are now either extinct or are less used. And the UK has 150 of these products that are considered extinct. There'll be examples of either breeds of pigs or breeds of sheep, or even something like a biscuit or a recipe of a cake or a dessert or a bread, that because it hasn't been integrated, it was forgotten, was left aside, now there are elements of extinction. And this can happen the same thing if you forget about all of this. It's just like forgetting an entire chapter of your history, but also the culture doesn't move forward. If you forget one element, then you introduce a new one in, you just have to think about what you've lost. So it's kind of actually quite funny. One of the biscuits, one of the cakes on this list is it's a Cornish saffron cake. It's actually a biscuit, but it's the funny thing of it. One of the elements, obviously one of the ingredients is saffron. It's an ingredient so far away from the British list of ingredients that doesn't have bay leaves or thyme or something. So saffron is extraordinary. Just the fact that it's a very old recipe, just the fact that this element of saffron is included in the biscuit, it's fantastic. And now obviously there's a revival of all of this list. There's 150 just in UK. I think each and every country has an enormous list of these products. And some of them are just extremely ethnic. And then of course there's a lot of ingredients and products that we don't know about, and they're forgotten somewhere. So yeah, part of this inclusion, it has to do with yourself, but also with the others. So, yeah, that's it. No problem.
Margarita?
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you for your intervention. My name is Margherita Tiriduzzi. I come from Italy, from Umbria. It's a very small region in central Italy. And yeah, I would like to take over about this question that came up, because yesterday for the digital bootcamp, I did my local discovery and I interviewed a lady here in Umbria that she has a museum of Archaeologia Arborea. It means that she takes all varieties of fruits and vegetables, but mainly fruits, and she is trying to she cultivates them actually, but she doesn't sell them because it's impossible to her to put them in the market. So it's just a museum, and people come just to see, and maybe they adopt some plants, etc. But like she struggles a little bit with this because like she cannot. It's difficult for her to put the fruits in the market. So yes, I would like to know your opinion about this, because like the work that she's doing for maintaining the biodiversity in my region, it's really wonderful, and like it's a pity if she cannot continue doing this. So yes.
Shall I start, Lorenzo?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the same project, probably on a larger scale, has been started and running for a few years by someone in the United States called Dan Barber, from a beautiful restaurant as well as a farm. He started with this thing, which is again a database of seeds or different forms of seeds that could be from fruit, from vegetables, from grain. But what he's then taken these seeds and kind of sent them randomly around the world, which sounds kind of strange. But it meant that, for instance, there's a type of beetroot that people forgot completely about it. It's called red badger. It looks like a long beetroot. Now it's being planted, considering it was kind of the seed was found somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the United States. It's now planted by my former head chef in a restaurant in the middle of London. And now all of a sudden, although it doesn't make him money, it's not necessarily for monetary reasons why he's doing this. This information is now spread out. Now, for her, probably in the case of this wonderful lady, probably an option would be the same. The information and the knowledge that you have, also the database of all of these of the seeds, is indeed spread them around as much as you can. And then later on, it's true, the money will come in because the support will be there. Probably an organization such as Future Food Institute, or maybe there's other different organizations that will be willing to support this in one way or another. Because yes, it's true, we are kind of losing touch with a lot of these things, but it is a possibility. It is a possibility for these things to actually to work. But yes, it started off from one seed. It was from one particular type of butternut squash that was orange, and then he moved on to this. And now the whole of London is using these beautiful red badger beets. They look amazing. It's funny. And during lockdown, most of the chefs were just planting things in the back of their garden, and then amazed by the fact that it actually, works out. But it's still a database. Not anymore, because now this museum is spread around the world. That's an option. There you go.
Iulia, I think someone wanted to know the name of the chef in London you were referring to.
His name is Neil Campbell. The restaurant that he runs is called Rovi. It's in Fitzrovia, and it's part of a group of restaurants called Ottolenghi. He's not just one. There's quite a lot of other restaurants in London. Now they've been picked up. This particular red badger seed has been now picked up by a few other smaller farms around London. They all kind of work with these bigger or smaller. There you go. Yes, that's Barbara and Blue Hill. Because someone just noticed that yes, this is the greatest thing. It started the same format as the lady you mentioned from Umbria. The only difference is probably he had more backup to actually spread, let's call it spread the love, the love for seeds, spread it around. But yes, now there's a lot of restaurants in London that are using some of these products. And then in the lockdown, pretty much everyone planted either the squash or the beetroot. There you go.
Lorenzo, you wanted to...
I wanted to just build up a little bit, maybe give another idea to the lady and to Margherita. For what I know here in the US, lots of colleges, university campuses also are growing their own vegetables, fruit and vegetables. So like prominent colleges, most of them, they even have, a lot of them, they even have honey hives and they produce their own honey, just because once again, they are all focused on, being more sustainable and so on. So I wonder if for this lady, sounds like a great project, she could reach out to some of those colleges and work with them, because ultimately it's all about putting your name out. And honestly, I'm not a marketing expert at all, but it's all about the experience. It's all about not only about the product, even when as a chef you create the most delicious food, you need someone to market it, right? It's all about the front of the house experiences, and it's not about only the food. Unfortunately, as a chef, I should say, but it's a full package, and you need to put your name out, and you need to work with credible institutions and credible, organizations that can support your project and lift you up, I guess. By the way, I worked in. I can only imagine how those fruit and vegetable are. I worked in Umbria many years ago in a beautiful 5-star hotel in Perugia called Brufani. I don't know if you're familiar with Margherita.
Yeah, yes, I know.
Yeah, but I worked there before you were born, I guess. But anyway, it was a 5-star, and coming from Bologna, going to Perugia and see the quality of the vegetables, I was shocked. The colors, they were so vivid, so colorful that I've never seen anything like that in my life before and after. So I'm sure that lady makes magic there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I think Gian had a question.
Hi, Chef Lorenzo, Chef William. I have two interrelating questions, and they both focus on, Chef, when you spoke about the social aspect and the importance of community. Now, given the fact that it's proven that eating is one habit that involves all your senses, and all your senses are even heightened when it comes to community eating or eating together. It does not mean eating with your family, but even eating with your friends. If you are at work, you're eating with someone. So it enhances the entire eating experience. Now, that also results to enhanced satisfaction of any food that you eat, also reduces the stress levels while you're eating, which means better absorption in your body and a better health indirectly. Now, the question is, when I come from Mumbai, and it's a developing country, and we all have very fast-paced lives where our eating patterns and our living patterns all revolve around work, and predominantly work. And the whole understanding of eating food for survival versus eating food for living comes into question. Now, are you eating food to sustain yourself, or are you eating food to live your life? Now, in that perspective, how do you convince the masses to engage in community eating or engage in social practices that involve eating as the primary focus? Because that's something that we still face as a very big challenge. And as you mentioned, it is a challenge. But coming from a developing country, what perspective can we take? Now, the first example that I get in my head is the way Pizza Hut markets itself, or the way Coke markets itself. It always involves people around it. Now, taking marketing as an education or a pedagogic perspective for people, because everybody watches TV, everybody's on social media, they watch advertisements. Now, maybe in that perspective, but could you shed some light on how can we socialize or engage people into eating together in their day-to-day?
I have one word for you, education. That's where it all starts from. That's where it starts from in terms of how you eat, in what you eat exactly, but also this social aspect of sharing and eating together. It all starts from education. And I think it's part of the elements that actually Barilla is supporting as well, is the idea that it's not just the food pyramid doesn't just work in terms of adults, but it also works for children. And it's fundamental for the system to be applied to children and to be applied in schools and to feeding children in schools, because of the same reason. You start the education from a very young age. I will not be able to for instance, train my neighbor who's 40 years old and who's probably had, during this lockdown, the greatest period of his life when he had to stay at home. I will not be able to tell him more about turning off the TV and sitting down with his wife and eating. But I'll be able to educate someone who's 4 or 5 years old and explain to him how important it is to just enjoy the food that is in front of him and enjoy his friends that he's sitting down at the table. Yeah, it means that perhaps we're skipping on one generation or maybe two, but there will be a day when, yes, this will become the norm. But it's our duty in a way to turn this into the norm. No?
Lorenzo, with Barilla, you have this great learning kitchen initiative. Would you want to maybe tell a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Before that, I want to just say a couple of words about, I'm a bit surprised about your comment because I work with an Indian scientist here, and he's the ultimate eating together guy in the R&D team. You know, he wants to share he brings his wonderful food made by his wife every single day to the office, and he shares with everyone, and he wants to gather people around. So, and I was watching a wonderful documentary a month ago on Netflix about all the different cuisines of India, and my take-in was that traditionally you guys enjoy sharing food together and so on. But I mean, I can only imagine what the challenges in a city like Mumbai you guys have, and I'm sure people are super busy and it's difficult to find time and so on. So for sure, it's also a matter of sometimes, like I was saying earlier, of prioritizing things, and sometimes you don't have the option, and you're prioritizing what you really need to get done and to survive. And so, but part of it is also for sure education, not only education starting from scratch, is bringing back your old traditions, I guess, because like I said, I don't believe that Indians don't enjoy sharing food with people. I have always had the opposite impression, knowing beside Piyush, my colleague, many other Indians. And anyways, with our teaching kitchen, I think it's a great transversal project that we have, a cross-function project that we have, that we, as a company, we work very heavily. And basically what we do is every year we decide on a topic, and we'll offer teaching kitchens to all our employees. The headquarters here in Chicago and the plants as well are the workers or the plants as well are invited. And we form teams of 10, 15 people. They come in the kitchen. We cook all together. I teach them, we teach them, my team is teaching them new techniques, tricks, cooking skills of any kind. And then we share whatever meal we put together all together. So nowadays, even these activities have transitioned to digital, the type of format, but we're looking forward to go back to that. But I feel like the point of this is, I feel like not only at work, but even with your family, when you involve everybody in the production of your food, even your kids, if you have, they will be more willing to sit down with you and eat food with you and have joy about it with you. I see even my daughter, like I said, she's 13 years old. It's that age that she starts thinking about other things in life and going crazy, right? But she really prizes, she really appreciates the time with me in the kitchen. And then no matter what she cooks, she will eat. If you are cooking broccoli with her, make no mistake, she's gonna eat broccoli. But if I'm cooking broccoli for her and I call her from her bedroom to the dining room to eat broccoli, she's not gonna eat it. So I think it's you gotta involve people from scratch and spend time in the kitchen together.
Thank you. So keeping an eye on the time, before we start with the trivia, we have still two questions, one from Alessandro and the other one from Amanda. Alessandro, do you want to start?
Yes. Hi. Hi, I'm Alessandro. I live in Milan, Italy, and I'm passionate about stories. So I have a question for both, but the first one, Iulia, have there been any events or any special moments related to the dishes that you have served to the guests, to the needy at the refectorio? There is some example of great feedback, a great emotion that the dishes that you served at the refectorio has been highlighted during the dinner or during the lunch?
There's been quite a few, and I think sometimes we take too much for granted what we're doing. We don't quite analyze what we're cooking. We've done some of our customers. I will continue to call them customers. Some of our customers are from Middle East, and luckily we have quite a lot of us are influenced by Middle Eastern food. We have a stock of ingredients, but also stock of spices, and it seems that there's an affinity between whoever cooks and what comes out of the kitchen in terms of Middle Eastern food. Sadly, again, some of our customers are from Syria and are housed in the areas right here around us. And because we were, again, the only center in the area that we were serving food, probably this would have been their only meals they would have had throughout the day, because no other centers were open, but also there's no access to food in any other way, especially if you don't have money. Let's put it bluntly, that's the truth. So for a few days, I think the first time we've managed to serve them, we've had pretty much the starter, the main, and the dessert was all Middle Eastern. But we didn't realize, it just happened that everything kind of went together. There was a plan for the starter, and then turned into a butter bean mash with beautiful croutons, and then a little salad made with fennel and orange and all sorts of other things. And then the main course, it happened to be a tagine, because again we had elements that we could do to a tagine. And then the dessert just happened to be a cake, which initially it was just supposed to be a simple piece of cake, a semolina cake. But then again we had donations of oranges, and they turned into this orange flower water with lots of orange cake. We served out the food, and on that day also we had a massive donation of olives. So our customers had a container of olives plus all of this. We didn't think it through. It just everything kind of aligned. And then we served the food. Everybody went home, washed their face, went home, forgot about it. The following day, before we even started to prepare the food, we had people ringing at the door, and they were asking us about, what are you going to cook today? And we were thinking, we don't quite know. Let me just go into the room and figure out what I have outside. And they were saying, if you could do the same food that you did yesterday, because it kind of reminded me of what I missed at home. Again, obviously we couldn't do it because we didn't have the same set of ingredients, but it was kind of heartbreaking, especially because it was never intended that way. It was never meant to be, in any case, emotional. So yes, that was a sad day in a way, but also a happy day. Since then, we've managed to either serve olives or things like that when we know that the people around us, appreciate it. It was also funny because some of our best dishes turned out to be vegetarian, which is again a very random thing. Maybe because we're just working so much more with vegetables, and this feedback comes again from people who normally in the situation. Imagine if you're homeless. I mean, you just receive food. You will accept any food that you manage to get. But then when your vegetarian option it's tasty, and it punches flavor, and it's supportive. It keeps you going for a whole day. Then all of a sudden your day is better. So yes, we've managed to kind of do that as well.
Thank you for
There
sharing this.
No problem.
So, Amanda, your turn.
Hi, I'm Amanda Katiliniode from Indonesia. Thank you so much, Chef Iulia and Chef Lorenzo. I just wonder, because you're both very experienced and you've developed thousands of recipes probably, could you share where you get the inspirations for recipes development, and do you source information globally? Thank you.
You go first, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my case, I'm Italian, working for an Italian company, but in the US. And the US is a melting pot of people from around the world. And we believe in pasta being a blank canvas, being able to pair to all kinds of vegetables, ingredients from all over the world. And so, honestly, when I develop recipes, I don't look so much as just Italian ingredients or European ingredients, as long as they fit the idea of the Mediterranean diet, I'm okay with anything. I recently developed a pasta dish with curry and ginger, which normally you wouldn't use on pasta in Italy, but it was extremely successful. In fact, I gotta tell you, we developed just recently what we call recipe builders. Basically, they are mix and match tools that you can. You start with an oil of some kind and then some flavoring ingredients. You infuse the two together. You add your protein. You brown the protein. Then you add your vegetables. And so by using this flow of ingredients, you're going to build up pasta recipes that are 500 calories or less. But the beauty of these recipe builders is that so far I think we have 19 different regions in the world. So they are inspired by 19 different regions in the world. So we have the Filipinos recipe builder, we have the Italian, we have the Californian one, we have the Tex-Mex, we have a Japanese, a Chinese. We have all sorts, and we worked. My team and I and with some consultants from those regions to create these recipe builders for our consumers, for whoever is interested in cooking pasta, and they're posted on our website. And I think they're an amazing tool to just create pasta dishes from around the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Iulia, would you like to add something before we start the trivia?
I think it's, for us, it's globally. Not only because the team that we work with, they come from very different parts of the world, so it's easier to either tap into their own knowledge or also through their own experience. But also because kitchen nowadays are trained to cover different types of cuisine. You should be able to cook a multitude of different types of cuisine, not just one. And I think for our center, more than perhaps for a lot of other restaurants or whatever, for us, it's pretty much a connection with the ingredients that you have. I'll give you an example. You have a massive delivery of, I don't know, oats, for instance. And then you just have to kind of Google and try to find as many possible recipes for oats. And then sometimes this need pushes you to different parts of the world and different types of cuisine that you never thought of. And then all of a sudden, not only your customer gets something interesting, but also you educate yourself and you learn more. But you tap into a completely different cuisine that you've never heard of. So it's good. It's a challenge, but also interesting. So yeah, global, definitely.
Thank you. So now it's time for the trivia. I'm so nervous because this will require you to be fast and I to be sharp and everything. So how we will do this now? You will all use your chat, okay? So both Lorenzo and Iulia prepared 5 questions for you. They will say the question loud and I will also paste it in the chat. Then you have 30 seconds to answer. And the first correct answer wins the question. Plus we have the Francescos in the back who are timing. So they will also say when the time is over. And this is how we go. If we will have a tie at the end, we have 1 bonus question. Are you ready? Is it clear for everyone? Good. All right. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. All right, let me just find my list of questions. Lorenzo, would you like to start with the first question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. According to the BCFN 2016 Double Pyramid report, the vegan and vegetarian menus have an almost similar environmental impact. How much higher impact does the menu with meat has compared to the vegetarian menu? That's the first question.
So, no more answers? Well, you are really slow, guys. Where are your tips? Oh, no one managed it so far. So we will take the one who gets the closest. Gestina, there we go. So we have a winner. It's actually twice as high. Exactly. So 100% is the correct answer.
There you go. Okay, so the second question is what is the base of the Mediterranean diet, the 4 food categories?
4 food categories, please, guys. 4. Don't post one.
And there's 4 food categories.
Yes, there we go, Margarita. Exactly, fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. Okay.
Thanks for listening, Margarita.
Exactly. Okay, next question.
What's a great way to enhance flavor without compromising nutritional?
Yes, I think we can give it to Ivani. We take it, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the question, I mean, the answer would be also spice and aromatic herbs, because that's a really big part of the Mediterranean way of cooking. But anyway, when is World Pasta Day? Whoever is first on Google.
No answer is coming every day, yeah, right?
There you go. That has to win.
Eleni is 1 month. Yes, so it's Radhika. It's actually October, but the day was good, Eleni.
Great, great.
All right.
Yeah, because for us, this is really a wide journey to that day, to the 25th of October, the World Pasta Day. What is orthorexia?
Yes, Michaela got it. It's the obsession to eat healthy and right. So we would give her the whatever it's called. Well, you will have a vote. All right. So I think we are now with Iulia. Are you ready to ask your first question?
Absolutely. What is the greatest cause of biodiversity loss today?
Okay, so this will be a bit different because I would go now with Adrian with agricultural practices, which is actually overarching all. So the previous ones were also good, but the overarching answer goes to Adrian. Francesco's, are we like everyone has now one winner, right? It's like they have to speed up a bit because we'll have a tie at the end.
Yeah. They're all at 1 point, Julia.
Yes.
If they're all at 1 point, maybe we need to make one last questions with like only the winners, and the first one that respond, that will be the winner of the winners. This is my strategy.
Okay. So before we go on to the next question, there are some I want to mention also here for the biodiversity loss. Obviously, there are other causes as well, which are invasive species and pollution and over-harvesting. So you all entered great answers. It was just not the right one for the question. So the next question, Julia.
While there are over 50,000 species of edible plants on Earth, which 3 crops make up 60% of all human caloric intake?
Rice corned beef. There we
Wow.
go. Oh.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
too fast. I missed the one at the beginning. Who was it? Radhika. Okay.
Wow, that was fast. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, we are getting better in this, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
What three key areas of resources have the greatest opportunity to improve conditions for those most vulnerable?
So 3 key areas resources.
Yeah. Storage.
3.
There you go.
There we go. Water, food.
There you go.
Water, energy, food. Greta got it completely right.
Excellent.
Okay, then
move on.
Question 9.
Ooh. This is going to be easy for everyone, yes? What is at the top of the food recovery hierarchy? Everybody knows the answer.
Yeah. Come on, guys. What is going on? Source reduction. There you go. Radhika, you are nailing this.
Excellent.
All right. So question 10.
Okay. During the COVID-19 pandemic, how many meals did Refectorio Felix serve per day on average?
Closest answer wins.
There you go. Closest answer. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a bit too hard.
Per day. Okay, easy. Per day. Wow.
Oh, there we go. Yuli, you nailed it. It was 500.
Thank you.
Okay. So Francesco's, what is the result at the moment? Do we need I actually really want to ask the bonus question.
Radhika is at 3 points. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that she won this this round.
Okay.
Way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Just for fun, can we ask the bonus question? Just for fun.
Of course.
So no, this is not part of the competition anymore. Yes, shall I ask, Iulia, do you want to ask maybe?
Okay, this is good actually. Where are the next refectorio opening?
So you
because
have
there will be more refectorios opening in the near future.
Exactly. That's nothing to be Googled.
No, actually this is secret information from what I heard because it's not actually quite published. But very good. New York City is one of them, yes, absolutely. LA, not quite. They're not that yet. No. Cape Town, no.
Not on my list, at least.
Tokyo, no. Not on your list. Berlin, no. Dublin, wow.
Time is up. Thank you, Francesco. You took your job very seriously.
I am a professional.
Indeed, yes. We'll just name 3, probably the top ones. Lima in Peru, Harlem, New York, and San Francisco, which is, it's surprising. Then Sydney, Canada, Montreal. Actually, it's interesting, we're hoping to open a center in Bethlehem in Palestine as well. So they're quite interesting places, yeah. There's, we'll see which one opens first, and then we'll do a selection of all candidates. You guys are going to be on the list. There you go.
All right. You know, this was recorded now.
Oh no. Oh no. I think someone asked why, the reasoning behind some of these places. I think it has to do with there's a combination of finding the right location, but also where it's mostly needed. And I know that we're looking at the list and you're thinking, really? In New York, you need a center for it? But yes, unfortunately, nobody is in a perfect situation wherever they are. There will always be a need for a refectorio. So yeah, there you go.
I mean, I've seen it firsthand in New York, San Francisco too, definitely. I'm sure you will be able to have the community big time there. It's great that you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get to help at one point.
There you go. That's the bonus. That's the bonus. It's this whole circle. The refectory is the whole circle. Is there a need? The question is there a need to help people, but also is there a need to sort of source and recycle and work with food? Is there an excess of waste food that needs to be somehow put back into the system? And is there someone there who will need this food? So it is, yes, in many ways. How can the chef? Oh, okay. There's lots of questions now.
Yeah, that's what they usually do. They shy and then they get all crazy before the time is up. Yeah.
Once the list of the next center is going to be out, please, by all means, just write emails, write messages, write letters, handwritten letters. That'd be loved. Everybody loves handwritten letters because nobody does it anymore. But yes, keep sending messages. If you're willing to help in any way, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can help. And every small center has a lot of opportunities, not only for help. I mean, you can help with transport, you can help with sourcing the food, with even sending it to people. I mean, one of the, let's say, is if the center doesn't have the possibility of housing people, getting people inside to get the food, you can always send it to them. One of the projects that we worked through I'll just say this quickly and then I'll leave you alone. One of the projects that we did, we were doing food parcels for small communities in Hackney, in a part of London that is particularly hit by COVID. These are, again, families of immigrants who were on the asylum seekers list, and we were able to kind of give them parcels of food. This is another way that you can do it. It's just kind of distribute food to those that need it. Anywhere, that's all. That's it, I'll finish now.
Thank you, Iulia.
No problem.
Guys, it was a lot of fun. Radhika, actually, you won something. I completely forgot to say it in the excitement. Yes. So you remember after the first week assignment, we handed out some mentoring sessions. So you get a few extra one after the bootcamp as well for being so fast and sharp during the trivia. Yeah. Great. Great. Thank you, guys. Do you have any other questions? No. Lorenzo, yeah, thank you so much for being with us. It was a
Thank
very
you so much for
session.
having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, here we have one question. How did they get in touch? How did the students get in touch?
Website of Food for Soul, as well as go to different refectorios, separate websites. There will be, it's contact, I think it's contact at Food for Soul. Send your letter of intent, make it as pathetic and sad as possible. And then they'll be more than happy to take it.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you.